In the light of the severe economic downturn, the Chinese government recently intensified programs supporting private enterprises. However, the reality is quite the opposite, as private Chinese entrepreneurs are frequently arrested or even pass away under mysterious circumstances. Recently, The Economist reported that Chinese entrepreneurs are mysteriously disappearing at an alarming rate, with at least one being arrested nearly every week. On the evening of September 21st, Zhejiang Great Microwave Technology announced that its controller and chairman Yu Faxing was suddenly placed under residential surveillance by the authorities. Yu, a scientist and entrepreneur, specializes in advanced semiconductor for military applications. Yu was born in 1975 and has been a professor at Zhejiang University School of Aeronautics and Astronautics since January 2006 and also serves as the chairman at Great Microwave Technology. With a net worth of billions of RMB, Yu earned a pre-tax salary of 960,000 RMB last year. His partner recently sold off nearly 450 million RMB in shares. Analysts suggest that Yu had likely been targeted for some time, as Great Microwave Technology's 2025 media report was exceptionally strong. In the first half of 2025, the company's operating income significantly increased compared to the previous year, reaching 200 million RMB, a 73.6% year-on-year increase. Net profit attributable to the parent company was over 62 million RMB, marking a staggering 1,007% growth. Great Microwave Technology was founded in September 2015 and went public on the Shanghai Stock Exchange Star Market in January 2022. The company is involved in the military-industrial sector, selling key products like radio frequency transceiver chips, microsystems, and modules. Their products are primarily used in phased array radar and satellite communications, with downstream customers including China Electronics Technology Group, China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, and China's Academy of Science subsidiaries and research institutes. Analysts suggest that the sale of stock shortly after the impressive media report indicated that Yu may have been trying to flee, possibly in response to urgent warnings. However, it seems that his escape was too late, and fleeing from such a sensitive industry is not an easy task for entrepreneurs like him. The Economist reported on October 8 that Yu has been taken by the CCP's anti-corruption agency and is currently under residential surveillance, an extrajudicial detention method that is increasingly being used to detain Chinese entrepreneurs. Previously, the CCP used the double regulation policy, which had no legal basis, to detain individuals for questioning at a designated time and place. After Xi Jinping took office, the residential surveillance system was introduced in 2018, allowing the government to detain suspects in secret and without independent oversight. The scope of residential surveillance is broader than double regulation and can be applied to officials, public servants, schools, hospital, sports, and cultural organizations, as well as managers of state-owned enterprises. Even ordinary citizens suspected of corruption can be detained under this system. According to the Safeguard Defenders, a Spanish NGO, residential surveillance is similar to detention in that both are forms of solitary confinement carried out in secret locations, with a maximum duration of up to 6 months. However, detention is completely outside of legal framework, and the individuals involved do not even have the right to hire a lawyer. Despite many victims not being party members, their treatment seems to be classified as an internal party matter. The Economist reported that these detention facilities often have no windows and the lights are kept on constantly. Detainees are typically under 24-hour surveillance, even while using the bathroom. The report further revealed that high-ranking executives from listed companies have been disappearing at an alarming rate this year, with 39 such cases reported by the end of September. This is equivalent to 1 case per week, surpassing the previous year's highest record. This is just the tip of the iceberg, as most of these detained work is unlisted companies, which are not required to explain their disappearances to investors. Recently, it was noticed that Xing Jie, party secretary and chairman of Shenzhen Metro Group, as well as chairman of Vancker Group, has been missing for 24 days. It was reported that on September 18th, he was taken away from a meeting in Shenzhen. On October 11th, Chinese social media outlets widely reported the disappearance of Xing Jie. Chinese media outlets like Tuluo Research Institute reported that on September 18th, Xing Jie was taken away for investigation during a meeting in Shenzhen and has been missing ever since. However, shortly afterward, this news was made inaccessible for viewing. Li Dan, a financial media journalist, posted that despite the recent severe internet censorship in China, these social media articles managed to be published and remain accessible, indicating that the information was officially authorized and not a rumor. Chinese official media, including Sina Finance, also reported on the incident. On October 13th, Vancker issued a notice on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange stating that on October 12th, it received a written resignation from Chairman Xing Jie, citing personal reasons for stepping down from his position as non-executive director and chairman of the company. After resigning, he will no longer hold any position at the company. Xing Jie was responsible for the construction of the Shenzhen luxury hotel St. Courtyard Hotel, but the hotel's sign changed to Intercity Hotel just a month prior. Xing Jie has worked for over 2 decades in Shenzhen state-owned enterprises, starting at Shenzhen Foreign Trade Group and later leading Shenzhen St. Courtyard Hotel, China Great Wall AMC, and Taegan Group since 2017. He has served as chairman of Shenzhen Metro Group. In 2017, Shenzhen Metro Group acquired a controlling stake in Vancker, becoming its largest shareholder. It wasn't until January 2025, when Xing Jie took over from Yu Liang to become Vancker's chairman, that Shenzhen Metro Group fully took control of the real estate giant. However, by this time, Vancker had already fallen into a debt crisis after being allegedly drained of its resources from continually supporting Vancker. After taking over, Xing Jie formed a new executive team for Vancker, most of whom were his subordinates from Taegan Group and Shenzhen Metro. As Vancker's largest shareholder, Shenzhen Metro Group continued to inject capital into the company. In 2025, Shenzhen Metro Group provided multiple loans to Vancker and pushed for structural reforms at Vancker. Xing Jie was seen as the firefighter sent by Shenzhen state-owned enterprises to save Vancker. By August 5th this year, Shenzhen Metro Group had provided 26 billion RMB in loans to Vancker, offering funding at below market interest rate multiple times. In addition to direct loans, Shenzhen Metro also supported Vancker by acquiring project revenues rights. However, as China's real estate market rapidly declined, Vancker's debt structure remained heavy despite continued financial support from its major shareholder. Meanwhile, Shenzhen Metro Group itself faces huge challenges. Its half-year financial report showed that revenue dropped by 21.7% year-on-year, and its net loss attributable to the parent company was approximately 3.36 billion RMB, marking 2 consecutive years of substantial losses. As of the end of June, Shenzhen Metro's total liabilities amounted to nearly 480 billion RMB, with a debt-to-asset ratio of 60.5%. Shenzhen Metro Group's ongoing projects, such as the 17 active railway lines and the Xili Hub, require continuous financial investment. Regarding the reasons behind Xing Jie's disappearance, speculation is widespread. The market generally believes that his detention is unlikely to be related to his management of Vancker, and he has only recently taken over the company, and it would be difficult for him to have any deep involvement in operations that could trigger an investigation in such a short time. More speculation points to his previous career in the state-owned sector or possible connections to other ongoing investigations. Before his disappearance, an important personnel change occurred in the northwest region of China, which is said to be linked to Xing Jie. One commentator suggested that every entrepreneur or executive detained likely represents the clearing out of astronomical wealth. Given Xing Jie's decade-long political career and his extensive network, it seems clear that he could have been targeted due to his significant involvement in the state's financial black hole. According to official sources from the Chinese government, the number of people under detention, including both officials and business figures, surged nearly 50% in 2024, reaching approximately 38,000. In May of this year, an entrepreneur who fled to the US, Mr. Jing, revealed how his hard-earned assets worth billions of RMB were set up and seized by local government officials, almost leading to his wrongful imprisonment. Mr. Jing expressed his frustration, saying, "I'm deeply unsettled. I've worked all my life, but my money is gone and my company is gone." In late January, he hurriedly boarded a flight to the US, fearing he would soon fall victim to an unjust prison sentence if he did not leave. Mr. Jing's business empire included dozens of subsidiaries and branches with a registered capital totaling hundreds of millions of RMB and over 1,000 employees. He described himself as a leading figure in the local business community, stating that nearly every company he established in the region ranked either first or second, with many products distributed nationally. He held significant influence in the local real estate sector and was a chairman of several associations. During the 3 years of pandemic lockdowns, China's economy plunged into a deep recession, marking the most difficult period for private entrepreneurs, with countless companies going bankrupt. Among those who managed to survive, Mr. Jing's company was the only one that maintained a significant cash flow of several hundred million RMB on the books. To outsiders, Mr. Jing appeared to have it all, but he never anticipated that the hand of power was already targeting him. He repeatedly mentioned that he believed he was set up by local government officials who forced him into a trap, seizing over 1 billion RMB of his assets. His conflict with the local government stemmed from a large, unfinished real estate project. Several years ago, the government leader in his city approached him, urging him to acquire a commercial real estate property near the city center that had been left unfinished. The officials claimed that acquiring the property would benefit the city by improving the GDP, increasing tax revenue, and enhancing the city's image. He recalled, "At the time, I was unwilling to purchase because the pandemic wasn't fully over and I was concerned it would lead to trouble. But the city officials said I had to do it. Even if I didn't want to take the money, they promised me that the process would be fast-tracked with green lights for all approvals." Fearing government retaliation, Mr. Jing reluctantly invested over 1 billion RMB into the acquisition. However, the city's promises were never fulfilled, and they worsened the situation. He said that as soon as the acquisition was completed, the local government breached their agreement and refused to acknowledge the previously confirmed documents. When he submitted the development plan to the city's planning commission for approval, the government blocked it and demanded several billion RMB in additional payments to consider the development. He was shocked and had no choice but to sue the city government. Despite clear evidence, the lawsuit went from district court to high court, with the city government losing every time, but still refusing to approve the project. Without approval, the project remained stalled and became a new unfinished project, causing Mr. Jing immense financial loss. Mr. Jing had previously suffered losses due to local government's failure to honor promises. With real estate prices slashed, homes could not be sold, and the city's government, unable to collect taxes, came up with a plan to issue housing vouchers to people looking to change homes. He explained that when the house is sold, the seller doesn't get money, but instead they receive a housing voucher to serve as payment for the new home. Jing's real estate company cooperated with the city government and accepted many of these vouchers. However, when attempting to redeem them at the government, they were refused. In the standoff with the city government, Jing felt utterly helpless. Eventually, he remembered the option of petitioning. He mentioned that the project itself wasn't worth much and highlighted the external debts. He was concerned that if the situation continued, the losses wouldn't be limited to 3 or 5 billion, but could escalate to 8 billion. So he was worried how he could manage. He sought ways to save this company, going to the provincial level and Beijing to seek connections. However, the officials there demanded more money, and everything came to no avail. Finally, with no other options, he took several executives to Beijing to petition. After returning, he vaguely sensed that something was wrong. A friend revealed that city leaders were arranging an investigation into him, looking into tax issues and remittances to his children studying abroad. Soon after, the city's Industry and Commerce Bureau, Tax Bureau, and Public Security Bureau all came to investigate. The police said they wanted to discuss issues related to corporate stability and investigate any illegal activities. Starting in the second half of last year, Mr. Jing was repeatedly called in by the Public Security Bureau to make statements. The most troubling experience for him was in late January, when he was subjected to 3 days of intense interrogation. The police chief, along with a squadron leader and an officer, pressured him to make statements questioning whether his remittances for his wife and children's green card were an indication that he planned to flee. The police chief repeatedly emphasized, "Why aren't you giving money? The leadership asked you to give it. Why aren't you listening?" He responded, "If I give the money, the company is gone. Today it's this, tomorrow it's that, and eventually the company will be gone, right?" However, the police ignored his explanation. Over the 3 days, he was subjected to physical abuse, sleep deprivation, and other forms of torture. 4 days after being released from the police station, Mr. Jing, without telling anyone, quietly rushed to Shanghai and boarded a flight to the United States, leaving the land he had lived on for decades. He lamented, "I truly didn't want to leave. I spent decades building this company. It's like my own child." Recently, Chinese officials reportedly sent a message to Mr. Jing urging him to return and clarify the situation, threatening, "If you don't come back, our city government will seize your assets and will criminalize you, and we will place you on the red notice and extradite you back." He learned that the government had sent people to take control of his company, and within a few months, the cash flow, which had been around 200 million RMB, had been completely drained. He concluded that since it has reached this point, he can't go back now. Mr. Jing's experience is typical in China and by no means unique. In the first half of 2025, at least 19 entrepreneurs were placed under detention. In mid-August, within just a few days, at least 5 people were detained, including the general manager of Diamond Data PU, the chairman of Consys Technology, Liu Jiande, the general manager of Xinjiang Sailing Information, Yue Yamei, the chairman of Guotai Environmental Protection, Chen Bo, and another executive from Diamond Data, Chen Wen. Chinese court data shows that by the end of September, around 200,000 people had been added to the blacklist this year, a sharp increase from about 17,400 in all of 2019. Macro research firm Gavical Dragonomics estimates that the number of cases filed this year is expected to reach a record of 1 million. Another issue troubling Chinese entrepreneurs is being placed on the dishonesty blacklist, where courts often restrict debtors from high consumption in order to force them to repay debts. Those on the blacklist are prohibited from flying, taking high-speed trains, or staying in high-end hotels. Recently, Wang Jianling, once China's richest real estate tycoon, was placed on that debitor's blacklist due to a contract dispute. Although the restriction was lifted a day later, it sparked discussions about the severe conditions faced by some business leaders. The mysterious death of Chinese entrepreneurs have added to the complicated situation. Between April and July of this year, at least 5 well-known bosses fell to their deaths. On July 27th, Wang Lipen, chairman of Easy Home, died under suspicious circumstances, just 4 days after being released from a month-long detention investigation on July 23rd. The CCP's detention of entrepreneurs have been widely criticized as extortion. On September 25, 2024, Zhou Tianyang, deputy director of the International Strategy Research Institute at the CCP's Central Party School, called for an urgent ban on local government's practice of detaining private entrepreneurs to extract money for fiscal revenue. The article was subsequently censored within China. The Chinese government claims it is working to improve conditions for entrepreneurs. In February, Xi Jinping personally met with several entrepreneurs, and the authorities introduced the private sector promotion law. However, the growing number of mysteriously disappearing entrepreneurs tells a different story.